Hei kaikille, mä oon Katja Puolakka ja toimin Upledger ja Institute Finlandin maajohtajana. Tänään mulla on haastateltavana saksalainen osteopaatti René Assink. Ja René on sen lisäksi, että hän on osteopaatti, hän on fysioterapeutti ja opettaa kansainvälisesti Instituutille viskeraalimanipulaatiota sekä laajasti monia Baralin kursseja, muitakin. Mutta René on myös Upledger Instituutin kraniosakraaliterapia-opettaja. Ja tänään me tullaan keskustelemaan lasten hoitamisesta kraniosakraaliterapialla, koska René tulee opettamaan kyseisen kurssin Suomeen. Sen lisäksi, vaikka me pysytellään tämän päivän haastattelussa tuossa kraniosakraaliterapian puolella, niin mä haluan mainita, että René on myös kehittänyt Instituutille lasten hoitamisesta kurssin, että miten viskeraalimanipulaatiolla hoidetaan lapsia ja ehkä kenties saadaan jonain päivänä sekin kurssi Suomeen, mutta pysytellään tänään tuossa kraniosakraaliterapian puolella. Ja tämä haastattelu on englanniksi. So, René, thank you for this opportunity to interview a little bit about the upcoming class and treating children with craniosacral therapy.
Thank you also for inviting me. It's quite an honor. I've never been in Finland, also in Helsinki, so I'm very looking forward to this.
That's so nice. And it will be spring when you come, so
yes,
hopefully we will have a nice weather as well.
Not so cold, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So first, could you tell a little bit about yourself, about your background, and what do you do?
Yes, I'm Dutch. I was born in Holland, and I worked in Israel after study physiotherapy. Before that, I have a bachelor in chemistry, clinical chemistry, and then I go to Germany and also wanted to work there for a short time. And then I learned my wife, so that's the reason why I'm already living in Germany, the north of Germany, for 40 years. And I have a clinic over here where 8 to 10 people are working, and we treat children as well as adults. I have also children myself, 3 children who are already adult. And I started doing osteopathy in the middle of the 80s, and learned very quick John Upledger, because it was the early time also for John Upledger, and I had an opportunity to learn him, and also Jean-Pierre Barral. And because the need was very big in Europe to have teachers, so I decided to become a teacher with a group of Dutch guys and also people from Germany. And then we started doing the Upledger in the Barral Institute, Germany, and also grounded an osteopathy school, and also with a lot of children, classes for children and adults. And because CST classes were at that moment were very, very hip, also the pediatric classes, CST were very hip, and we had this immense opportunity to teach craniosacral therapy, SER for children, also in Munich, in the Children's Institute from the university over there, who's world famous, and worked also together with Vojta over there. And since then I never stopped working with children, giving children classes, had different people where I work together with, and also do my osteopathy classes. So since 35 years I'm giving classes a lot, and because I'm now 65 years old, I sold my institute, so I'm not the CEO anymore, and started more traveling now, so traveling all around the world. And that's also the reason that I will come to Finland, where I'm really looking forward to come there. Yeah, so that's quite a long story, but also for quite a long life. So that's
Well, it sounds like that we're going to be lucky to have you here, and all the knowledge that you have gathered over the years when you have been teaching and practicing.
Yes, I was very lucky, lucky in that I had the possibility to work with John together, and also all the people in the US, but also I knew a lot of people also from the Upledger Institute, and it was in Germany, a very famous therapy, and the Bobet therapy. So that's also very much done with children. I had the opportunity to learn together with a lot of very, very good people, very skilled people, and always living in this exchange from, and never with the idea the one is better than the other, but how do you do this? How do we, that was, I'm very lucky with that. I'm very lucky with that, and I'm very grateful to a lot of people, and that helped me really in my treatment with children. And the thing that I still have, I love to do I love to do craniosacral therapy and embryal, and that's, of course, I give most classes I've given about this theme, and but also I have a huge respect for a lot of other children's therapy, and to see what is needed for the child. So it's not so from you have the therapy and every child has to fit in, but more you have your box with tools with different therapies, and you choose what would be best for this child, and that's, I was lucky, so I carry that with me, and also like to tell about it. So from, and also making the links to maybe other therapies when you see when you work with children.
So you treat both adults and children at your clinic. What are the most common reasons why parents bring their child to see you?
I think we live in a time where parents have high expectations on their children and want to do everything right. So the most thing I have also together with my colleagues, I asked them, so because I knew this interview was coming, I said, one question that I'm going to ask in the evening, what is the most, and everyone says parents who are a little bit anxious, or parents who ask the question, is my child okay? And also, my child had a heavy birth, and is it okay? Is she doing well? And so that's, I think, the most that I see in the clinic that I have, and the most children don't need a treatment. And that's also very funny, because looking at them, and for my thing, how's the cranial sacral system working? And a lot of children do well because they don't need any help, because it's very important also that growing up doesn't mean you have to do a lot of therapy. And you see a lot of children who have difficulties in making contact with the parents, or parents with the children, and especially there you see that sometimes a heavy birth or a complicated birth helps a lot when we do cranial sacral therapy, SER, and hands-on, and this light contact that we have, this smooth approach that we have to see how you bring things together. That's what I love about the cranial work that we do. And again, with every child, even if I don't treat, I always do a 10-step protocol. With what you're going to learn in the class that we're going to do, because I love protocols. It's so helpful. Dr. John made it same as he did the 10-step protocol for the adults, and it's so practical. It's so good to use in the daily practice. So yes, but you see also children coming in, also parents coming with children with skull deformations, and also with digestion problems and developing delays. A time we had about the KISS, about the cranial base problems. So yes, that's so. I think about 90% of the people coming in the clinic with me. Yeah.
So now I'm wondering that when there comes the parent with a child that doesn't actually need the treatment, do you then end up treating the adult instead?
Sometimes it's necessary. Yeah, because what I said before about the expectations, and that means a lot of parents are very stressed. It's too much for them, and I think the cranial sacral therapy, also maybe doing the SER, gives them a possibility to reflect themselves a little bit, or to come down a little bit, or to accept, or maybe the reason that they're so anxious had to do with maybe also a little bit with their whole life on an unconscious level, that has something's coming up, and to help them a little bit with that. And on the level that you feel that the contact gets better. Don't be too much. Also, this is when the energy is flowing, it's okay. And that's yes, sometimes, and I think a lot of times, so even the parents need us more than the children. Yeah, it's also the reason that the children don't come from themselves. It's always the parents see something, or maybe the doctor sees some things, which is preventing screening that they find, and there is an uncertainty, and so others have problem with the child. The child sometimes, if you would ask him, or if you were able to ask him, say, I don't have a problem, and having a parent who is comfortable with the situation is for the child so helpful. And then I'm sometimes offering, how would it be your child don't need it? How would it be when you come maybe one time, and then we practice a little bit, then we look a little bit and see how you do with your child. And most of the time it comes, it's very positive what comes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. How do you see the importance of treating children, babies and infants with craniosacral therapy?
I think we have with the instrument that we have with craniosacral therapy, and that's, I think, a good composition of working with tissue and working with energy, working with emotions. It's craniosacral therapy brings it on a way together that I don't know from a lot of other therapies. So, and there are very lot of therapies to do that. There's nothing, but for me, the access to a child with the physical and the emotional level is with craniosacral therapy so good, so easy connected, and that's the reason that I like craniosacral therapy very much. And also it works on the basic axis in the body. So there's so much basics in the side, and I do osteopathy now for 40 years. And I see in the work of, especially in the work of, also in the work of John, I see osteopathy in its purest form. So working with the rhythm, working with the meld and blend, it did so much that also Still did it, or Sutherland did it, and it's so helpful, beside a lot of other therapies, and that's the reason why I think craniosacral therapy, and we're going to talk about it because you will ask me the question about Austria, what we did over there, and that was more or less approved, and how good craniosacral therapy can be. Yeah, I don't want to miss it in my daily practice. Yeah.
So, when you teach practitioners to treat children, what are the main things that you wish them to learn and take with them from the class into their clinic?
Children are very robust. We always think that children are very easy to harm, or easy, and that it's easy to do things wrong. Children are very robust, and to learn to trust yourself, and treating children is always also something a little bit about treating yourself, because this very pure contact that you have, this very special contact that you have, and I think we should use the time in the class to get comfortable with that, comfortable with a very smooth approach, with very good techniques, not too much techniques, and to get confident with treating children. And I think that's a goal, and that's also a thing I like people to learn. Don't worry what you do when you treat children. That's yeah.
Good one. I have heard a little bit about the study that you have done in Austria. Could you share about that, please?
Yes, I started the Upledger Institute in Austria, about in the middle 90s. And in the first class, there was a woman, Elisabeth Löwenstein, and also Sabine Mittermeier, two excellent therapists, children therapists from Austria, one from Graz, from the University Clinic for premature children, so the NICU, on one of the most famous clinics worldwide in treating premature children. And same story with Sabine in Linz. And especially Elisabeth Löwenstein had the opportunity to bring the craniosacral works in this part of medicine, who is very, very high complicated. We have to deal with children who are very, very, very sensitive. And she, through her work, the craniosacral therapy was a standard therapy in that clinic. And of course, there were so many professors running around, and they said to her, okay, if we doing this therapy, come on, do a little bit science on it, show how worthwhile it is. And that's what she did. And I was together with her, helped her, was part of it also. And she did a tremendous work by first by looking how we're going to do this, because you're dealing with children who was very difficult to evaluate them. So you do a therapy, and how you're now going to prove that it worked. And so what we did was we did about spontaneous movement. So the study was also the quality improvement of spontaneous movement by premature or by preterm infants, so children who are much too early. So even 25 weeks or anything, your children you can take in your hand. And what treatment is helpful, and also doing craniosacral therapy. So we monitor the children 15 to half an hour before, and 15 to half an hour after the treatment, to see if things are changing, and you have these spontaneous movements that you have, if they become better. And the result was that there were groups of children who weren't treated and children who were treated, and the children who weren't treated got worse during the time in the clinic, so from the spontaneous movement. And the children at CST, they didn't get worse, so they stayed on the level that they were. And one of the most important thing that they find out is that's the first contact with the child. So only the touching, the melting and the blending, what we do, what for us is so important in therapy, showed to be one of the most important parts of the therapy. And children got more quiet. And that's after that there came a second study. I don't know if the Voita therapy is very known in Finland for children, and it's more children where you go with the ontogenesis of children, so completely different. So we compared these two therapies. Have children, one got the craniosacral therapy, one got the Voita therapy, and then we find out that children who are very, very young, very, very young, and very, very restless, had a lot of profit from the craniosacral therapy and not so much from the Voita therapy. And children who started developing, moving, also were a little bit older, had a little bit advantage of the Voita therapy. But the thing was, both therapies were helpful, because especially in these high-tech places, that's really incredible what's happening over there, showed us these therapies have really are really necessary to do. And the explanation for the therapy was, or the reason that the craniosacral therapy is successful, is because of the children got more relaxed, more quiet, and that's the stress is one of the biggest problems the children have. And with craniosacral therapy, you have the possibility to reduce the stress. So, and having these results is only one study, you have to say, because you have to do more studies and so on. But it's a good motivation to see what we do. And especially also when children are maybe a little bit more adults and having stress, and that are touching, moving, and the way we do it is very fine and very well chosen, and what places are important. So that was a big motivation also to say, I can imagine that it's also for the children we have in our daily practice that's very helpful. So, and I was I had on the Beyond the Dura, and that's a few years ago. I had the opportunity to give a presentation, and the reason that I did the presentation was I love to do it, and I fine. And for me, it was very important that, especially for Elisabeth Löwenstein, that she was honored for the work that she did, but because she never would do it for herself, and she was really the leading force in that team. So that was also a little bit an homage to her work, and it's very unique to have this opportunity, and the results were good. That's very nice to hear. So that's
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing about the study. And then
if I come to Finland, I will show you I think we said we do after class we do a short moment where we look at the studies maybe.
Yes,
because it's very interesting to see it. So yeah.
What can the students expect from the class?
What can students
from those? Yeah, what can they expect from those 4 days?
They can expect that they can ask a lot of questions. So I will tell them what is important from my experience. We'll do the program, the Upledger Institute once. We do the evaluation. We're going to look at the SER, and they have the possibility to ask a lot of questions. They will have the opportunity to treat children, so they're also practicing on each other. We will do the techniques on each other, and then on a certain moment on the day, patients will come, also the children will come, and they have the opportunity in small groups to practice what they learned, and after that, doing the questions. And also, the students can bring the questions from their daily practice into the class to see how will we deal with certain problems, so that we can together find a solution to that. So it will be going a lot about talking, questions, problems, very practical. How do we do it? Maybe I show it also. We'll give a demo or one or two. So that's what the student can expect. So it will be very practical, open, and not so frontal from do this. So that's not. I think that's not helpful because you have to get confident with treating children, and that's there is to exchange the information that everyone has, experience that people have, so that we put that together, and any 4 days that we bring it to a good product.
Sounds awesome. I'm sure it will be a great class, and thank you for saying yes when I asked you that if you would like to come here. So
yeah. Looking
really
forward. It's only
forward.
2 months to go, 2.5 months to go.
Yes. Yeah. We're gonna start the 2nd of May, just right after the May celebration day. So.
Of course, yeah. Good.
So thank you.
Thank you, Katja, for this interview.
Thank you.